What's up, guys? Someone requested that I don't have little video screens on my videos, so we're gonna try this out, but you let me know. What do you think is better? Is it easier to follow a face, or is it easier just to follow a screen? Let me know what you think. So today we're going to learn to write inequalities. Last lesson you learned to solve inequalities. Now you're going to have to write them first and then solve them. Inequalities are used in a lot of real world situations, and we're going to look at some common phrases that might describe each inequality. So if you see something is less than or fewer than, the symbol that we might use is less than. If you see something that is greater than or is more than or exceeds, these are situations where you might want to use this symbol. Now this is where it gets a little tricky. If you see stuff like is at most, or is no more than, or is less than or equal to, be careful of when you're going to use the equal to. So like at most means it could be that number, but no more than that. And then same thing, at least, we'll use this symbol, or is no less than, or is greater than or equal to. So when you see at most or at least, that's a sign that you're probably going to need the equal to symbol as well. By the way, this is on page 341 in your books. So when we want to write an inequality, first we're going to describe the mathematics and then define a variable like we did with solving equations. And then it's very similar to writing equations. The key is just figuring out which inequality symbol to be used. With equations, there's only one. There's an equal sign. But with inequalities, you have 4 different symbols: less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So figuring out which one goes there is a little bit more tricky than solving an equation. So on page 342, here's our first example. I'll let you guys read this. We want to write an inequality to determine how much he can spend on games. So for writing the inequality, let's first put this in words. It says that the cost of a go-kart ride plus the cost of games is less than or equal to the total amount he can spend. So since he can spend at most 18, then the amount he has to spend has to be less than $18. So if X is the cost of the games, then we would say that the amount he spends on go-karts plus the cost of games, we don't know, is at most 18. So it has to be less than or equal to 18, right? Does that make sense? He can't spend more than he has, but he could spend all 18, so it could be an equal to problem. So again, the difference is the hardest part is figuring out what symbol we put there. But then solving it, solving it, same as the other day, subtract 5.5, he can spend less than or equal to $12.50, so up to $12.50 on games, and then be able to tell what that represents. It represents the cost of the game, so he could spend at most $12.50 playing his video games. Let's look at another example of writing. We're just going to spend our time writing because we've done the solving part already. So James is scuba diving at 39 feet below the surface. He ascends to a depth above negative 20 feet. So he's negative 39 feet below. He ascends, so he goes up in a certain amount. So we'll say negative 39 plus F is above negative 20 feet. So what symbol would we use here? Less than negative 20 or greater than negative 20? Since he's going above, then he's going higher than greater than negative 20 there. Here's another example. Follow along in your book. Fill in any blanks that there might be. Caleb owns 2 types of dogs. The difference in height is at least 25 inches. Caleb's Yorkshire Terrier has a height of 6 1/4 inches. The difference in height is almost more than 2 feet from the tiny dog to the big dog. Okay, so again, in words, the Great Dane's height minus the Yorkshire's height, because it's talking about the difference in height, is at least 25 inches. So the subtraction part shouldn't be too bad. We'll have h be the height of the Great Dane. So we're going to subtract the 2, but when we say at least 25, would that be less than or greater than? And in that case, it's got to be greater than, because this difference is at least 25. So that means 25 would be the smallest, and it could be higher than that as well. So now that we have written the inequality, we're going to solve the inequality. And you get 31.25, or 31 1/4, for the height of the Great Dane. So the height is greater than or equal to 31 1/4. It's at least 31 1/4 inches would be the height. All right, let's look at another example. This one's not in your book. You can read along. The difference between the low and high temp was more than 37 degrees. So more than means what symbol? And the difference between the high and low was more than that. So the low temperature was -5. So we want to take the high temperature, we'll call it T, and subtract the low temperature. So T minus -5 has to be greater than 37. The high minus the low minus a negative is more than 37. So there is your solution for that one. So you guys try the check problems on page 343 and 344. I want to see those worked out, and I also want to see your parents' signature. So don't forget to get that after you watch this video. All right, we'll try these in class, so don't worry if you don't get it. We're going to spend a lot of time practicing. See you next time.